All right, finally. Okay, thank you for that lovely introduction that I wrote for you, Vivek. Uh, and like, so I'm going to be talking about sensors for monitoring human behavior and physiology. Like Vivek said, I'm a card-carrying member of the Geek Club, engineer, pocket protector, and everything. And I'm honored to be here in front of you as faculty. Although I like your title much better, scholar. Sounds like intellectual, and I don't know. Maybe next year I'll get into that. So we are all here because we believe if we can sense physiology and monitor behavior in the field environment, perhaps we can shed light into the potential causes of chronic diseases. So the idea is to surround, our subjects with sensors and monitor all the aspects of their daily life, and from that data, perhaps try to see what are the biomarkers related to the chronic disease progression. So while we do that, we don't want people to look like that, of course, at the end. And I think that's one of the major challenges as an engineer, not to go overboard and try to, go to the most fanciest, most, integrated sensor solution rather than, sometimes skipping the simple ones. So we want to, in our sensor choices, we want to keep the burden associated with these variable sensors to minimum, so that we can, scale our research to large quantities. And we live in a, in an era where there's a sensor for everything. So there's variable sensors that monitor heart, respiration, motion activity, galvanic skin response, trying to understand how much you are sweating at a time, and EEG, and they go from sort of dorky to more dorky solutions. And maybe to shed light, what we are looking into in these researches studies is, again, what we, typically with mobile health sensors, we are looking for non-invasive solutions. So we are outside the body. We are seeing our body regulated by autonomous nervous system. So we have sensors attached to this outside, and we try to infer something about the internal state of people. So we have the sensors providing a plethora of data. Then typically we use, machine learning, some model-based statistical technique to map those data to some observables we are interested in. So what are some of the things we are interested in? We want to see when people are eating, are they smoking, are they drinking, are they stressed? And perhaps if I can quantify those, then I can begin to understand what are some causes of these chronic diseases like heart failure. So yes, we are lucky. We have tons of sensors to choose from, but how to choose is, I guess, the question that comes to mind. So again, I can't overemphasize that we have to minimize the burden so that we can have large-scale voluntary adoption. A lot of the time for our studies, we've been paying people to use our sensors. So there is a big gap between the people you pay and people who do voluntarily and adopt your sensors for research. And instead of episodic in mobile health, usually you want to continuously assess physiology and behavior, because, for example, taking a smoke cessation study, where people are trying to give up on smoking, you are interested whether they relapse or not. And relapse, by definition, only happens once, right? So you want to be there with your senses to capture that moment and to understand perhaps the causes of that relapse. And we want robust sensors that that provide predictable performance in the field. And I like to emphasize that instead of the lifestyle sensors, we want to basically understand how these sensors are working and the biomarkers they are producing. So in order to do that, they have to be informed by physiology, biology, psychology, so that there has to be a grounded basis behind this. And I want to maybe start with a cautionary tale first. So dancing, right? So one of the things that it's actually found some adaptation is this idea of tracking activity, how active you are in a day. And there are some solutions from commercial entities, and some of them can be just apps that you carry in your pocket, versus some of the things, and some of them are you wearing on your wrist, and some of them you are wearing on your back. So, and what's the basic thing you can ask from these sensors is to count the number of steps, right? And what's the basic study that you can do is, take out all the variation of our daily life, put somebody on a treadmill and going at a constant speed. So I can't imagine a more basic task than for these sensors. And here are some results that are, that other researchers looked into quantifying here. So first thing, we see that first of all, the answers vary a lot between these sensors. And some of them are, each subject has only 500 steps on it, and this is what they are reporting. So and you can see even the same person on the same task, how variable the answers are from a single device as well as over devices. And people usually ask, in this type of, is this the one you made? No, that's not I wish, but no. That's a balanced form sensor, which is sort of more advantageous position for the, and when you are working in mobile health, this is fact of the life. You don't really want to, you don't accept to see this. Perhaps in treadmill, but not when people are in their daily life to count these active steps. What is more, troubling for mHealth researchers is when you buy a Fitbit, you come home, you take it out, it's all shiny, charge it, and then you'll get the brochure, right? It will never say that the step count is plus minus 15 steps correct. We understand there's an error, but nobody quantifies that error for you. So once we want to bring that data to our research, unless we have an understanding of these error bars, there is no easy way of integrating them to our solution. So, and compare that to the cheapest, $25 blood pressure monitor you buy from Walgreens. You go home here, that will actually have, say, our measurements are plus minus 10 millimeter mercury, because they are, governed by different regulatory mechanisms. So I think that's a challenge we have to accept. And but one of the thing is, these sensors can be also very powerful. It's not just counting steps and how many activities. A lot of these sensors are built in actually with the gyroscope and magnetometers. So they enable you to fine-grain track the wrist motion itself. And maybe you can use that data for recognition, smoking, eating, and drinking patterns in addition to all these. Just to get a feel for it, here's me doing a daily activity, while I'm wearing two sensors. So anyone guessing what the activity is? Yeah, super, very good. I was worried that people were going to come up with some. Yeah. And I know what you guys are. Yeah, okay, I'll leave you with that image. And I also know what you guys are thinking, They say, I look great with that. Yeah, so they say in internet you can be anyone. It's actually in virtual reality you can be anyone, a superhero. So maybe it's just a little different one. Any ideas with that? Crossing, yeah. So that the activity, and now of course this is a motion capture system where we have a lot of sensors. Can you do the same assessment if you just have these two axes? That's the challenge we are facing. And one study we looked at was, we talked about these smoke cessation studies. And the idea is you take a group of people who are trying to give up on smoking, and you monitor them. And the idea is detect the time of relapse if they relapse, and try to see the time, place, and the physiological context. Were they stressed? Where were they? Were they at home or at work? You know, what was the time? And perhaps, you know, you can roll it back and understand a little bit more about it. And, you know, using this risk sensor technology, you might say, hey, you know, smoking has a particular signature of risk. And so motion, and we like to, you know, see if that helps us to identify the particular time and place of relapses. So I want to, and you know, such scholars, we have actually, you know, I'll be showing some of the work of one of the scholars, Nazir's work here. And so again, we are interested in detecting time, place, and physical context of the first labs. So what are some sensor technologies? You know, this is not a new problem. People looked at smoking detection before. And, you know, one of the earliest solutions were ambient nicotine sensing. You know, you have some lapel sensor that you put out and you try to understand what whether you are in a smoky environment. So, but it's not clear whenever I'm in a smoky environment that I am smoking or people around me are smoking. So it's not a sort of very specific to your smoking. Then, you know, we talked about gestures of, and, you know, respiratory patterns, because there is a very, you know, unique signature of smoking, right? So you take inhale, you hold it in, and then you exhale slowly. So technical challenges, each, you know, each puff is short duration, 3-4 seconds. And if we are looking for this gesture recognition, 2K, you know, there's about 2,000 hand-to-mouth gestures every day that we do. Things are eating, drinking, yawning. And the first labs that we are after can be only few puffs, so you can't really hope that we are able to do a full, you know, packet of smoke before we detect it. So, you know, looking at the gesture, can we get this gesture that we get from the monitor? So, you look at, so there is a, if you look at just the isolated data, there is a picture of, you know, bringing to mouth, holding it there, and then releasing. So this is the pattern you are looking for. Of course, there are confounders, you know, activity and eating, which is a little more, you know, common that you keep it, bring it to your mouth. But, you know, the durations are different. And so you can sort of see, using machine learning techniques, can you quantify features from this so that you will say this is smoking? And Nazir and, you know, and others looked at this problem and, you know, come up with an algorithm to do that. And then they trained it on data for 6 smokers, and then we tested on people who are trying to go through the smoke cessation study. So some of them in the study, unfortunately, that's fortunate for us because we can use those to see how many of them we actually detected as relapsing. And then some of them didn't relapse. And for those, if our algorithm gave false positives, we will be able to assess our false positive rate, right? So, and if you look at it, you know, it's respectable for the problem. Probability of detection is 75%, so 24 out of 32 relapses. And false positive rate was only 0.6 per day. This is very important because remember, there's 2,000 times that we are detecting something, and then we have to figure out whether it's smoke or not. And, you know, the causes for perhaps the you know, the difficulty of the problem, the different ways that people hold cigarettes. There's a lot of variability between smoking styles, and, you know, depending on where you are, you know, at the moment of smoking, there's a lot of variability to the context, to the additional signal that we are observing. So, you know, one solution is to bring complementary sensing. So we talked about, hey, we have respiratory sensors that, you know, our group designed at Ohio State. You know, we could use that because that has a specific, again, you are breathing in and out, you are inhaling and then exhaling. Looking at this pattern together with the axiometry gives you a lot more confidence in your decisions. And, you know, the probability of detection that Nazir looked was jumped to 87.5%. And, you know, even better, the false positive rate was lowered a lot. So this shows using complementary sensors that you understand well and putting it together in raw data domain gives you better answers. And, you know, if you look at, you know, perhaps more closely, how did we use before? In 2 cases, they were wearing the sensors, and was low. So one can say, hey, on the census data we were perfect. That's one way of looking at it. But I think actually this is a problem that because this is going to happen over and over again. So this is your problem. Perhaps this data yield that people don't sometimes wear your sensors or don't wear them correctly. So, and we have been looking at this chest sensor for a long time. So we have a lot of studies with the same sensor. So, again, from another study, so we start with 922 person days of wear of our sensor, and we have on average 14.5 hours wear time. So not bad actually, I feel. And some of the time the phone was not there to receive the data, so that brings us to 13. Sometimes the sensor, although they were wearing it, wasn't turned on correctly, and so that's brings down to a little bit 13%. Whether they were, the contact was good or not. But at the end, we live with 11 hours or so of good quality data. So that's whenever you are doing your, power analysis, trying to say, okay, here's the number of subjects we used to do. You cannot rely on having perfect quality data. So you have to understand what is your data yield and try to adjust your sample size to account for it. Or, of course, try to work in your design space to improve this as much as you can. And our design experts will come to that, to those iterations. So we talked about the smoking context, something that we are much more studying over many years with our chest bands and our ability to measure heart rate variability, and respiration is the stress. So the idea is, can we build a stress profile, stress index for you that is continuously available, minute by minute, tells you how much stress you are, or a proxy at least for that information. And the idea is, you have the heart rate signal coming in, you have the respiratory signal coming in, and then you push people into these stressful situations to train your algorithm. So you ask, hey, Vivek, what is 126 times 5? And then, just say, I don't know, Donna was doing so much better in the last institute. But yeah, anyway, so you understand the idea of putting people through public speaking tasks and asking them to give speeches on, what are the greenhouse emissions in China affecting, US economy, how does it work? And then say, by the way, you are being videotaped. So, live stream. So, the live stream, yeah. So, it's certainly stressful task that you can come up with, and our friends in University of Minnesota, led by Mustafa Alapsi, Dr. Mustafa Alapsi, has this standardized test. So you observe these six sensor patterns and try to say, can I assess somebody's activation due to stress using those patterns? And the top green curve shows our estimates, and you can see how it correlates well with the, of course, in the lab environment, which we train. And of course, how do you bring that to the test, which is in the field? So just to dive in a little bit deeper, where is that stress coming from? So our autonomous nervous system consists of two parts, as far as they tell me. So parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic is like brake, sympathetic is like the gas. So, and unlike like a car, that you press on the gas until you're 60, we don't drive the same way apparently our body. We put on brake and gas at the same time. So, try to keep it in 60, 70, whatever, our rate is, and try to balance that constantly in an autonomous fashion. So unlike heart rate, which is like this average, how many times your heart beat, the heart rate variability, which means how are the beat to beat interval changing, is a measure of the tension between the parasympathetic and sympathetic system. So if you're under tension, you have much more variability in that signal. So with heart rate, it's easy to do. All you need to do is in past minutes what is the average heart rate. But if you are going after heart rate variability because you are interested in stress, you need to measure every beat. Okay, every beat to beat interval, which is much harder task. And if you ask, okay, here are two beat to beat intervals that are changing, one versus the other, which one do you think is better? Top or bottom? I mean, I don't know, which one would you like to have? I don't know. So, power bar. Top. Okay, yeah, I think a lot of people are on the money. So top is a 25-year-old person, and bottom is actually a patient under drug control. So, when you are lively, you are much more lively in your gas break interactions, and you can run down pretty quickly. But, no matter where you are, whatever your baseline is, when you are stressed, this very increases, and that's what we are after. So, so, and how do we measure it in the field, right? There is more than one way to skin a cat. I always find it very grotesque because I don't know, I couldn't find that. There's more than one way to
come downstairs.
Yeah. So this is the EKG signal as we look at it, and what it's measuring is it's measuring the electricity of the heart, the polarization of the heart before it actually beats. Right. So, and since it's an electrical mechanism, this is a very high pass signal, which means the peaks are very sharp, perfect for estimating this peak to be at the millisecond level. And this is the signal that is usually seen by the sensors that are using PPG, LEDs shining and activity. And I superimpose the two signals, which somebody wearing on left and right hand wrist, left and right wrist, on top of the ECG. You can see, first of all, obviously the signal is much more low pass and slowly varying because you are looking blood flow, a different physics, different time constant. So even if you were able to figure out which peaks are, you will be limited in your quality of data. And the other thing is, of course, you are looking and seeing, even for the same person at the same time, how much variability it is between left and right. It's not like if you put the same sensors on the EKG sensor, you will have exactly the same quality signal. So, and this is a more advanced solution from our lab. It uses a micro radar. It sends radio frequency waves in you and understands, basically how your heart beats inside. So this is a motion signal, and this is a sort of imaging product that you get all the time. So one can also do it. But again, the point is, fancy solution is not always better. The solution that people will wear and give you the data is the right solution. So, looking at this, again, one can begin to improve this quality of the signal. Because we are after not heart rate, but after we want to go in. So one way of improving is, a lot of lifestyle sensors have only green illumination, which is good for capillary flow. And you can try to say, hey, let me augment it with red LED, which is more arterial action, and also infrared, perhaps, looking at sort of a mixture of these two. Then I will get basically three signals, which I might use jointly to fuse and get better answers. And if you do that, basically, here are the sensors, and here is basically our detections from it, putting it together. And you can see, hey, it doesn't get every beat, but you get a lot of the beats correctly. They miss here one, right? So maybe you can say, hey, maybe I can skin two cats at once, put left wrist and right wrist, and use fusion. So once you bring the data from the right wrist, you begin to fill in a little bit, right? So you fill in the conductive wrist and of course, this is still somebody stationary. We are improving, but we are not there. And that's completely different when you are in the field, because when you are in the field, you have motion artifacts. You are moving on the way, the sensor is going left and right, so you have a lot of variability just because of the sensor skin factor. And this is the lab data for cocaine study in this case, but two things to do. There's all the more variability when you are in the field, and this is not actual variability. Variability in our answers, because now we are compounded by these factors that are interfering with our ability to estimate these. Plus, we make mistakes, right? Whenever I miss a beat, I think the R2R interval is not twice as big. So I get these outliers. One way is to try to get them out. Another trial might be, is saying, hey, you are using our own sensors and our own information chain, right? So we could do it a little better. What we can do is we can take out the signal and produce many detections. We know that some of them are wrong, right? So our heart is not going to be boom, 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 right? So we know only some of these are correct. And we can put them together with a physiological process that models the operation of the sinus node and model some of them and begin to say which of these makes sense because we know that the R2R intervals need to be certain interval apart, and then we can begin to reject certain and accept ones to do it. And we also understand that this is not a perfect process. None of our answers will be exactly correct. So we can create actually multiple answers and take average over them instead of living with one bad answer. And if you do that, this is somebody on a treadmill running from 90 beats per minute to 160 per minute. And the red is because he was wearing the ECG, he has the ground truth. You can see the different algorithms just producing different. So this is the algorithm from Samsung Research that was making about, which is state-of-the-art algorithm, which makes this error of 4 beats per minute, plus minus 4 beats per minute. Once you propose, you bring the physiology in, do a model-based detection, you do a little better. Your errors are less than 100. But when you are imposing a model, one has to be careful, right? So he is showing actually the way the heart works, it's a chemical process that changes your heart rate. So it cannot do it independently from beat to beat. So if you use a model that draws independent samples for the beat to beat, you are going to actually produce more variability than there is. So this is sort of the variability as a function of frequency. At low frequencies, we are very good matching the perfect. But here we are inventing them because our model has this idea that R2R intervals that are consecutive are actually correlated. So once you put that in, you can begin to model better and better answers. I want to close with one final answer. We said, hey, we never thought about the radar sensor because it was so cumbersome to one. The second is, since it sees through you, it sees also the wall behind you. So when I'm going up and down, it sees the wall moving and thinking it might be the heart moving. So there's a lot more confusion about the radar sensor, which looks super cool, but when you bring it to the field, it doesn't pay off. And so we said, okay, you put the radar sensor, I have to use it somewhere or other, right? So looking at the congestive heart failure. So this is how a congestive heart failure patient's status deteriorates. So first, these patients cannot maintain hemodynamic pressure, so they don't produce enough pressure in their heart cannot produce enough pressure in the pulmonary artery. So what happens is this pressure changes. Then body is clever, it tries to adapt. First, it says, hey, let me change my arterial stiffness a little bit so the blood flows better. Let me beat a little faster. So you have these little changes that are occurring autonomously, trying to make up for the loss in pressure. Then, at one point, you cannot cope with it, and then the tissues begin to change because you are not being able to push out that interstitial water and begin to ooze it. So this begins to change the properties of the tissue, and then at one point, you begin to accumulate water, and they're waiting. So the standard care here is two solutions in the sensor world. One is a simple sensor. You weigh yourself every morning. If there's a 3-pound difference, you come to the hospital, so you're taking something. So first, there are more than one way you can have 3 pounds. You understand? And the other false alarms. Plus, it's so late in the game. After 2 months of this process, this one end-to-end actually takes 2 months. By the time you see, it's been 2 months you had the problem. And the other solution is state-of-the-art. They insert this little pressure sensor into your pulmonary artery and let it stay there. It's actually, amazing that, you live with it for your life and it pulls scar tissue and stays there. And you can't really beat the sensor. It's right there at the first initial time. Unfortunately, it's like 25K to put in, plus unnamed amounts to monitor. Really, So thinking, hey, maybe our sensor can do somewhere in between these solutions. So impedance changes, right? because the body reacts differently to different radio frequency waves based on the water content. If we can begin to see minute changes in the water content, we can begin to understand. So the idea is, again, it puts waves in you and then records the back scan. Okay, and then try to understand how it is. So we test alone, again, you have to validate your sensors, about 20 patients that are going through decompensation. So the patients comes with lung water and they're trying to live with, hopefully dry lungs. And we are monitoring and see if we can sense that difference, so that we can hypothesize that we can sense the forward difference as well. And so this is sort of average over 20 patients. What we realize is not only we can change, so basically when this measure is plus, it says they have less water than they come up with. And this is showing the range into the body. So we see whether they accumulate water and where they accumulate. Closer to skin and somewhere in deeper. So perhaps this could be important clinical information to figure out intravascular versus extravascular water issues. But the point I want to make here is that's the average curve that you see usually in a nice publication. But if you have to go look every patient and see whether you were able to tell each and every patient at the right time. So you understand, once you look at the signals for every patient, some of them are very low. Some of them, the structure of this intravascular is very low. So it's a story that you easy to tell, but doesn't apply to every potential subject. And whenever you need to have a system that works for everyone, you need to make sure that you lower your thresholds and you begin to get false alarms. So we really have to always say, how does it work on average person? How does it work end to end in our population? So that we have solutions. So some summary remarks. So we all understand that the mHealth sensors have to account variability between individuals, devices, and the physics those devices are based. So just because something says heart rate is not going to give the same quality of signal, perhaps good for activity detection, but maybe not for the heart rate variability. Sensor placement, body composition, our geometry, how big I am, I guess, we are, affects the measurement. And that has high variability to the sensor. And when you put the sensor for the first time, you expect it to work, right? So what we need is, if you are going to successfully adopt the sensor technology, we require standardized outputs from these. If it says steps, I want to know it produces steps. And I want to understand how it's validated and what are the confidence interval of this, if I'm going to use this position. Raw data versus black box features. A lot of people hate actigraph, right? And it's a motion sensor. Why? Because it produces this text that nobody really knows what it is, but it's been validated against other measures, and it now becomes the what we want. In my opinion, is again going back to measurables, right? We want force, we want acceleration in the quantities we understand. It becomes interval, so that these raw data measures can always be mapped to features whenever we want to, and we can compare features after the fact. So a lot of the time, you are locked into these backbox features that the device gives you, and but if I come up with a new algorithm, there's no turning back. All that data is done. So I feel whenever we can, we have to favor sensors that produce measurable quantities. And fancy is not always better. I think I harped on that. So I'm going to close up with. So one of our president has a patent. And somebody tell who, does anyone know which president had a patent? It's a method for owning ships that are stuck on sand. It's not the current one. You love too much. He thinks. Okay, so it's Abraham Lincoln, actually. And this is a picture from the patent. And and what is this? So this is a replica, a working model of the patent. Okay. Where you can see, so till 1880, when you submit a patent application, they required you to give a working small-scale model of your idea, right? And if you ever go to National Portrait Gallery in DC, which used to be the patent office. The fourth floor is full of these artifacts. It's a wonderful place to visit. Has a nice cafe too. So these are sort of the different things I saw. One can see, so you can see the patent and the working small replica. In 1880, they ran out of space, and there was a big fire where they lost half of it. So they said, "Hey, we're not going to ask for working models anymore." But I think it's a lost tradition. But I think it is. Then we have these sensors designs that are especially somewhat homebrew. We have to go out there and make versions over and over, pilot, collect data early and often, because there would be problems, and you need to identify them first. Not count and some engineer to give you the final version when the time comes. Always pilot and collect early and often. And instead of design, again, I'm not going to speak on the design process because we have our experts. And also, remember, the sensors are only a small part of the mHealth kit. For it to work, it's a part of a huge infrastructure from the mobile phones to the backend, to the cloud. When you design your sensors, you can't think in isolation. You have to think of how it will integrate with everything else. I'm going to take off everyone here except Greg. Some of my students, which are really the key here. And I can never get them in one place, so it's more than the short picture, obviously. And the sponsors who wants to pay the bill. Yeah, thank you.
So we have a very practical engineer. Emre, let me ask you this. So when, say, a clinician or a health researcher comes to you, what are the things that endear that person to you? Who do you work with best?
I see. Someone with green. No, it's actually someone who is really interested in pushing the boundaries, okay? Because I have in times who come to me and say, "Hey, we want to use motion data or something. Can you help us?" Yeah, I can, but there's much better people who actually have experience. So, does your problem really requires advances in sensing, or is it's perfectly okay if it doesn't? So I'm looking for problems where the current sensing somehow is not a good match yet, and so I'm looking for collaborators that I can really be helpful to. And I think people come to me because I tell the truth usually. Like I say, "Hey, this is a sensors A, B, C, D, and each of them will have their own weakness, and mine also has these weaknesses. And let's be frank about it from the get-go. And limitations of physics. People say, "Hey, I throw a recurrent neural network, and I'm getting these plus minus point microsecond quality signal." The physics doesn't support, no matter what you put on it. So I like to be physics, grounded in the limits. I don't know why Ben is looking back to me.
So essentially, what you're saying, you like to be intellectually challenged and not emotionally.
Yeah, I like to be a scholar.
If they come in with greenbacks, yes, it's even better.
Yes,
so for all of you looking for collaboration.